I have a chapter in the book called Sex with Data, and the idea is that there's this world of linear data that we're collecting, whether it's email addresses, search campaigns, just general traditional things that we're putting out into the market, communications, all that sort of stuff. And then you have this whole new world where there's social data and information as well, the stuff that we're all individually contributing to it. And now we're at a moment where you don't just have an email address, but you actually can friend or follow me. You can +1 me, you can add me on Facebook, on Twitter, on Google+. And if you start thinking at a very sort of tactical level about what that looks like, it's quite profound, right? Suddenly, you don't just have like demographics and psychographics and email address against some sort of linear action, but you actually know the things I like, the people I'm connected to. And when you can bring those two worlds together, which we can now do if brands are smart and strategic about it, it gives you better access to information. It gives you better connections. It actually builds what we've been calling in the marketing industry loyalty in a much more profound way. So it's not really a question of how do you bring it together? It's a question of why wouldn't you bring it together? If you're a business that's small, if you're a business that's a medium size, if you're a massive business, if you're B2B, if you're B2C, knowing that this information exists, knowing the interconnectedness of people and how you can connect to it to actually really understand consumers and their needs and desires and wants and things like that, I think it's incumbent on marketers to get better at it. Now, when I say that also understanding that it sounds creepy. That there's sort of like this thing of like privacy, and I'm not talking about privacy. I think permission and having people proactively want to connect to you is table stakes. It's the things you have to have. What I'm talking about is personalization. And I think that a lot of people confuse the two. So when Amazon knows all this information about you, your credit card information, where you live, where you ship to, what you've looked at, what you've bought, what you've commented, what you've just wish listed, whatever it might be, nobody's saying, hey, privacy, privacy, because the level of personalization has been done so well that it provides value to the consumer. So I think it's more a question of what are you doing day in and day out to build permission in terms of capturing and having people want to give you the information that you need, not abusing that information, and then the return is actually delivering to the consumer a much higher, more profound level of personalization.
So you think people need to move away sort of from like clickstream and that sort of stuff and more into measuring social graph of their and weighing intent and that sort of stuff?
No, I think that you need everything. I think the challenge is when you keep it siloed and you don't look at the holistic, that 360-degree perspective that consumers are now offering you. If you live in a world where your consumers are on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, whatever it might be, and you're not taking that information and bolting it on to the stuff you already have because they want to and they want to be connected to you in that way, and then creating insights out of that data set, that's the mistake.
How do you think somebody could begin to think digital first in a really, if they're selling from a really traditional model, how could they be thinking to market digital first?
Yeah, so when you look at this notion that I have of the digital first posture, what I'm really talking about is something that Google's been also pushing a lot of in their zero moment of truth. So if you take sort of more traditional things like appliances and cars, you don't just sort of go, oh, I need a new washer dryer. Like, where's the big box appliance reseller and what's on sale this week? Mm-hmm. The first thing we do is, well, we might ask our peers, and usually when we ask our peers about what they recommend, we do it online. So that's digital first. We do research online. We ask and have questions, and we do things like look at YouTube videos and things like that all the time. And so I think it's more about understanding as a marketing professional that, well, it's easy to sit back and go, oh, that's not the way people do things. Like, we have flyers and a process that we go through for people to buy this stuff, that when we leave those jobs, we're the first people who are digital first, right? Someone goes, hey, it's time for a vacation. And you go, okay, well, let me call the travel agent, or go down to the strip mall and sit down with the travel agents and they can show me brochures. It sounds like insanity. Like, we don't do that. We go online and we look at the airlines and see what's on sale or where things are at. We go on places like TripAdvisor or Yahoo or wherever else to look at information on travel, and that becomes the inspirational jumping pad for all the things we do. And it's sort of, as I say that, it feels insane that I'm saying that in 2013, like this is some revelation. This is 15 plus years of in-market reality of commercialization of the web, or probably closer to 20 actually. And so for me, the digital first posture, whether it's B2B or B2C, has nothing to do with how old your customers are or how traditional they are. It has to do with how consumers interact with content. And content is you and I are sitting there having a coffee, and I tell you that my dishwasher busted, and you say, oh, you check out this brand or that brand. I may just pull out my mobile device at that point and do some quick searches right then and there. We all have that digital first posture. Someone says, what year did whatever The Godfather come out? We don't go to the library. We whip out our IMDb's or our Wikipedias and we look.
So it begins with understanding your own behavior, and then considering how the consumer is living the same life that you are.
Well, I don't look at own behavior. I call that a market of one, and that scares me. It's sort of, I do this, so everyone does that. No,
Yeah.
that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about, if you look at pervasiveness of these devices, if you look at penetration of all this connectivity, you don't have people who are like, wow, I don't know that piece of information, so I'll go to the library.
Right.
Or I'm interested in this product. I'm going to drive to the store and ask the sales associate what their input is. We have this thing, the internet, computers, connectivity, mobile devices, that enables us to have access to that information that we've always had now, and that's how we look at things. That is the prism by which we look through things.
Great. Thank you very much.
You got it, man.